Hi everyone, it's such a pleasure for me today to have a new member of my team with us. Lorna Irungu has just joined us and is going to be the CEO, Managing Director of the Gina Din Group, and actually started on the 1st of February. So this is a great introduction of somebody that I've known really well and have great respect for in the professional field, in our field of communications. It's really interesting when you've built a brand over almost 21 years now, and you kind of have a real emotional attachment to your brand, and I mean you almost talk about it in parenting terms, and it's your baby, and so you're very careful, I think, on who you give the reins of your baby to, and you just always want to make sure that you have the right fit. And it's just, for me, it's such a pleasure that Lorna and I started having conversations a couple of years ago when she first went off to the States to do the Eisenhower Fellowship.
Yes.
But of course, Lorna is not new to me. I've known her forever, and I've always had respect for her work in communications and who she is as a person. Because I think that's really important, is that you can have somebody that's very professional and technically sound, but it's also the emotional connection that I have with Lorna and that I think she brings to a great team that we have. So welcome, Lorna.
Thank you so much. That's a lot of words. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here and finally to share this space with you.
Yeah, and Lorna has, a lot of experience. So from an experience point of view, I know that she'll add value. But just, as a founder and somebody who has built a company with the brand that I have, I think it was really kind of key for me that we needed a new skill set. And I think, founders sometimes struggle with that because they build a company, they're very good at building. But then at some point, and I think I might have even been quite late in the game, and after 20 years of just sort of saying, okay, what is the new skill set that is required to take the business to a new level? And that's not actually that I've kind of done myself out of a job, because I intend to be very much here. I intend to carry on providing the strategic guidance that Lorna needs. But I do think from an operational and level, I think Lorna is really a great add to our team, and she will provide the guidance and the direction for our team to actually service our clients and bring on new additional exciting business. So Lorna, I think I've said a lot. So I'll hand over to you for a little bit.
I think for me, firstly, thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you for hosting me on this. But you mentioned something that I'd like to expand on a little bit more, because that really is a crux of how you and I got together. And 2 years ago, I was accepted to take this really prestigious Eisenhower Fellowship program, which initially I wasn't going to apply for. I was actually like, oh, it's too big, it's too out there. I did apply for the women's program, and then I ended up in the international program. And before I left, I was looking at what's a communication space? What are the issues I value and care about, and who values and cares about them? And there was a whole issue of what is it like to build a business? What is it like for women in leadership? Hillary Clinton was running for office in the US. There was a lot of other stories around her, apart from her capability. And it's easy a lot of times for us to look at people out there. When you ask people, who's your hero? They always pick people out there. And I remember struggling and going through a list and looking at who are the women I respect in Kenya, in the region, who are making a mark. And being like, of course, Gina, I need to get hold of Gina. And your schedule is insane, you're busy. And I sent you a message very tentatively and said, hi, I'm just wondering if you have time, I would like to talk to you about this. I've gotten this thing, and you were like, absolutely, come over, I'll buy you lunch. And I said, oh great, now she's paying for it. and what we thought was going to be a 45-minute lunch session ended up being almost 2 hours.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you were very clear to me, and you said some very specific things to me at that point. You said, you get this opportunity, stop thinking small. Go out there, represent not just your country, but your region. And you were really generous with your time, and you were very open about your experiences, about what had led you here. And I did go into that 3 months that I spent with that lens and kind of with that really words that you said to me. And the thing that struck me most is how generous you were of your time, but also you were very open to teaching. You were very open to sharing. We don't see a lot of that. People tend to want to hold back knowledge. And when you do, you don't let go of it.
No.
And I told you when I came back, I said, oh, I had such an amazing time. I have to tell you, I want to thank you for opening up that door for me. And then we started talking about what you were doing. And the thing that struck me the most is, I remember sharing this with my husband. I said, we had another lunch that ended up being another almost 2-hour lunch. But then you said something to me, and you said, you have experience and you have value that you really need to do more with. But you're the only person professionally who had said that to me. You're the only person who looked at the capability and was really like, please tell me how I can help you do this. And so even after that, when I said, why don't we try and do something together? Because I really like this. You were like, okay, let's figure out what you can do. You tell me what you want to do. And that policy you've had of being extremely open and being not just generous in information and spirit is partly what has made your success in your business. You've been honest with your clients in terms of delivery. You listen to them. You provide an answer based on them. And looking at the industry and the fact that I have played in many facets of the communication space, having started in media, having gone to work in film, in theater, kind of entertainment, and then deciding, wait a minute, I want to do some policy. I'm passionate about women and girls, about ending violence, about women representation, and you say, absolutely, we are two sides. You can go talk in front. I will do the strategic side that needs to be done. And those are the skill sets that you're talking about. And when we then had another conversation, we have long conversations, so this has all been part of it. And I said, so what's your plan? And you said, I'm not really sure. What do you think should be the plan? And you kept throwing these things back to me, and I kept asking, why is Gina asking me? Like, what do I have to bring?
Didn't know I was interviewing you, right?
Yes, there's no idea. And she's like, why don't you tell me, come back and tell me what you think? And then we'd have another conversation. She's like, okay, then I think we should work together. And I think anyone who hears this is like, huh? How did you actually get into this? And yet for me, it has been a series of conversations, which, as you said, you were interviewing. I didn't realize that, but very honest.
I only interviewed you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I'm like, okay, so who else are you thinking about? She's like, no one. I said, really, Gina? I mean, you know everyone. Why me? And you said, no, there's something else here. And for me, it was coming from you and just your reputation and what you built. And let's just be honest, it's hard enough to build a business in 20 years, over 20 years in this environment. It's triple harder if you're a woman.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
And that for me was a level of respect. I think we underestimate what it takes to build a business in any space. And so being here and over the last couple of weeks where we have gone for meetings or we're pitching work and seeing the reaction and seeing people, but also you just being really open to saying, it's your show, tell me what you need, tell me how I support you. I don't know if many leaders know how to do that.
Well, I think it's very difficult to transition. I think, a lot of founders find it really difficult to transition, and I'm just of the belief that you have to change before you must. And I think that's important, is that sometimes we forget that change is inevitable. So we need to be proactive about changing before we're forced to change. And I think, for me, it was that 20-year sort of mark. It's like, okay, so where do we go from here? Because let's face it, the interests that I had 20 years ago when I was building my brand are really not my interests now.
Yes.
And as a person, I've evolved, and there's lots more that I want to do. And so it just seemed like a good time to sort of say, okay, so where do I want to see this brand? And who do I want to come with me to take it there? So that's how, Lorna and I kind of connected, and, we're going to have a few more conversations in the episodes to come. So I hope you guys have enjoyed just listening to how we got here in the first place.